Hey guys, today we're going to be doing another video on Valheim. We're going to be doing a guide on the tips and tricks you need to know when beginning a new campaign, a new playthrough and a new world in the world of Valheim. Basically we're going to be looking at tips and tricks that you need to know in order to build your first starting base and everything around construction and building that base that you want your stuff to be stored in, and where to stay nice and safe from all the many terrors out there in the open world. We're going to be covering quite a lot of things here, so try and stay with me. But we're just going to be looking at the basics and everything that you can do just to make it look and feel a little bit better, and just work a lot better for you. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is your workbench. Now, when you first enter the game, one of the first things you obviously need to make is a workbench, so you can unlock new recipes, new armors, and new tools that you're going to need throughout the rest of the game. Putting a workbench down allows you to build. So now you'll be able to put down some basic structures, build around anything you might need to do. But you can't access it until you've had a roof on it. And you can probably tell where I'm going with this on the left there. But essentially, the quickest and easiest way you can possibly do this is 2 walls on the left and right, and then 2 sloped roofs meeting in the middle. Usually this works. I've used some very high angled roofs there, so it hadn't worked for me. If it doesn't and it says it's still exposed, you just need to put some walls on the back there, and then you'll be able to access it. Whereas if you use the I think 26-degree angled slope roofs, you should be fine without having a back wall. It usually does work, and as you can see, we don't even have a floor, so that is literally the minimum requirement you need in order to access a workbench, and the cheapest way of doing it. But yeah, next we're going to be looking at terrain turfing. So how to level your terrain and how to make it so that you can build a nice level house and basically make it as structurally sound as possible. So when you get to a certain point of the game, you're going to unlock the hoe. I think it's when you finally pick up a flint. Very easy to make, doesn't even use flint, you just use stone and wood. But as you can see, we're just moving across and we're leveling the ground. You can tell that the ground underneath me, as I tried to level it, it didn't go anywhere. So what we're going to have to do for this, as that's the maximum amount we're allowed to level it, we just need a pickaxe, and you can grab one of these really simple. Just have to take out the first boss, Eikthyr of the game. Really easy to do, doesn't take too long, and you can build yourself a basic pickaxe. But this allows us to basically terraform more, so we can now extend the amount that we level. So instead of raising more land down the other way, we can start to head inland. And using our pickaxe, just one simple hit and we level it instantaneously, so we don't even need to use the hoe anymore. We just continue leveling it like this, and as you can see, you can't tunnel in this game, so it's not possible to tunnel. So when you go really far down and then you hit a rock, it's going to remove the whole stack on top of you. So the deeper you go, the better, and the more you'll remove, so the easier you'll make it for yourself. So as we start to move up that cliff, we'll start getting rid of a lot more that's in our way. And then we're just going to go ahead and basically hoe off the rest of that. So next thing we're going to be looking at are the other aspects of the hoe. So another aspect of leveling is, as you can see here, we have this little bar that goes underneath our circle, and that means we're going to raise the ground up to that circle, so we can kind of grasp at what height, and it generally kind of has a good memory of the last area that you've been doing. As long as you're in a sort of similar area, it will bring it up to the same height as the area you've just been hoeing, whereas if you go a little bit too far out of the way, it won't do it. And the same goes, so you can see what level it's going to go to by looking at the circle and where it is. As you can see, if it disappears underneath, then you know that it's going to be coming down. It's easier, it's pretty simple, but just in case you didn't realise, but that is how it works. And yeah, so wherever that circle is, that's where you're going to be bringing it to. So if you can't see it, then when you click the button, that still means that little bit that you can't see, that's still going to be higher. Another feature we have is we can raise the ground. As you can see, nice and simple there. It costs 4 stone to do. And then you can level it down, but if you go too high, you will need a pickaxe to remove it. So you've got to be quite careful there. But this can be useful to just fill in gaps and places, especially if you've leveled too much maybe, or if you haven't leveled properly and you start to build your structure but realise that not all of it's touching the ground, maybe only half of it is, then being able to raise the ground just means that you can then fix that problem and begin to raise it again. You can always re-level it afterwards, but like I said, if you go too high, you've gone too far. Another thing we can look at is pathing. So another feature of the hoe is that it allows you to do a path, and this has no terraforming properties whatsoever other than the fact it removes the turf on top of the ground. So if you need to make a little path to your nearby base, If you don't remember where you're going, you just want a nice friendly reminder saying please go this way and follow your path, it's perfect. If you're just doing it for a design detail feature, again, it's right there for you. It just removes the grass, gives it a nice earthy dirt feel, and can be very useful, especially making paths from one place to another. There we go. We can use our pickaxe just to remove this here and get it back roughly level. So next thing we're going to be looking at, we've got our floor built down. As you can see around the circle, for the workshop we have this white circle. And now that is our building guide, so we can't build outside of that without building another workshop. So we can build a workshop on the edge of the circle, outside of the circle, and that'll extend our area, but we can build just outside of it as long as we are inside of it. Whereas if we step out, we lose our workshop, we can't build anywhere anymore. But standing inside the circle, we can build outside, so we'll just get rid of those there. So that's another very helpful feature. So when you build your base and you have your fire and your bed, one of the first things, so if you build a fire inside, you have to remove the floor in order to place it down. As well as having to remove the floor, you can actually put the floor back on it, but it doesn't look that good. That's just kind of up to you. If you just want to have the floor as a whole floor, you can put it back on there and it won't affect it too much. Next thing to take into consideration is smoke. So smoke rises, and if it doesn't have anywhere to go, it fills the area. So you're going to want to build a chimney. And to make sure that your place is still structurally sound, you're going to still want to put something on top of that chimney. Next thing, just when you place your bed, make sure to claim it and set it as your spawn point as well. This is something that a few people don't do, and you can, when you get killed, you won't come back to this bed if you haven't already set your spawn point. And you need a fire in order to be able to sleep. You have to have a fire quite close by to your bed. So this is a good way of coming over. That's why we've got the fire inside. Otherwise, normally you just have a fire on the outside. But having a chimney and a fire inside just means that you can always sleep. Your fire's protected from rain, and you can do other things. If you put some food bars on there, you can start cooking as well. But we'll go take a look outside and have a look at the chimney, and just show you. This is the design, and it gets rid of smoke. Doesn't look like it does. It's not 100% efficient to get rid of the smoke. It just costs less. One thing we can do is just put some pillars and then have it so it goes out more and has a bit more space. Now we're going to be looking at the structural integrity. So as you can see, we have a little tower here of some walls, and we look at the blue one at the bottom, so we know that blue one's touching the earth, so there's no structural integrity faults there at all. And as we start to look at, we've got the greens moving through to the yellows, and then eventually you're going to get to the reds, depending on what structures you use and how you use them. So if we try to put another ceiling down along that line we've got there, it is going to inevitably break, and there's nothing else we can do. We can't push that any further forward. So how do we rectify that problem? Now there are multiple ways that you can go around this. I mean, there are loads of different ways. There are better ways than what I'm about to show you, but this is the most simple and probably the easiest you can do at the moment. It's just to build. We put the floors there so that we can measure up, because if we build from the top down, it will break before we hit the floor. So having those floors on the ground means that we can build our pillar there and then secure that ceiling. So now what we can do is we can continue to put floors along, and they won't be able to break. As you can see, I made the mistake there. I started building top down. I went a little bit too far, and the pillar broke. So this is why we go from the bottom up. Again, you're not going to be building like this. You're not just going to have a straight wall with ceilings going across. You'll have more structural integrity than what I've got here. So it will be easier for you, and there are other ways to do it. So now we can go ahead and place the rest of our floors along there, and they're not going to fall apart and break on us. Now there are, like I said, other ways to do this. So if you don't like the look of just having pillars, there are obviously other ways that you can do it. Another one is to use the sloped logs, which I'm going to show you now. We can just start building slopes. Now if we go too far, again, it's a lot harder to go from the bottom up, but it's going to break. So another way to get around this is, I mean, you can try and do that and build it really quickly, but a simpler way is to just build a pillar halfway. Here we go. If we just do that, it secures it to the ground there. So we've secured that and made it nice and strong, and then we can continue to build it there into the ground. And now we can see that's blue, so that's grounded, and it's going to provide a good integrity bonus to the rest of the building. Obviously, the larger and taller your structures, the much more of the support is going to be needed to build it. And like I said, there are, as you progress through the game, there are better and more improved structures that you can use. Unfortunately, it doesn't add on to the ones that we've already got because it's not in the different position, but we can carry on building, as you can see, kind of get a good idea So the taller you build those, obviously the taller you can build your actual base, but it doesn't improve the fact you can't go further the more you build. You just have to change up a bit. You can also add some sort of designs like this. I picked the wrong one, but you know, you can make it look and give it a nice design. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is building canals and digging pathways. So like I said, you can't tunnel in this game, but you can still dig down to water level. And as you can see, this isn't wide enough for a boat, not yet at least, so we could widen this more, and if we wanted to, we could take it really far inland and connect it to our inland base. And therefore we could have a nice little dock very far away, very secure from the ocean, where we could take our boats to and from. Now as you can see, as we strike the bottom of this rock, it breaks the entire stack on top of us. Now we're gradually going up, we're gradually building up more ground underneath us as we go, so we need to take that back down a little bit and carry on. So if we aim down a little bit more, it will break that a lot more as well, and we won't have to worry about it as much. Now next thing we're looking at here is, so there's going to be a lot of these automated structures, a lot of structures that are going to be pre-built within the game. Now you can tear these down and collect the resources from them. Quickest way to do it with this one is you just break the supports. And again, this goes for structural integrity, so we take out those supports and the whole building will eventually collapse and fall down right on top of you, and you can get those resources without using any stamina. So you could just walk off, cut down a few trees, and this will all be there waiting for you. It does take some time, it's not instantaneous, but it does break apart. And you can collect those resources from it, which is always good. You can also fix it up and then build onto it as well. So now we're going to be looking at storm damage. So the reason that we have sloped roofs and all these things is to protect our structures from the damage of storms. Now as you can see, we had a storm, we put these structures down and they've been damaged by it. I did hit them a few times myself just to kind of give you guys an idea of how they look afterwards. But as you can tell, so a lot of that damage was made by the storm. Now the storm only damages to about 50% and doesn't go any lower than that. The rest of the damage is done by mobs, and there are sieges within the game that you have to watch out for because they will storm your base, but we'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, so the storm will come along, and over time, very, very gradually, it will damage your building. So if you're not on top, if you don't keep on top of it and don't repair them quickly enough, or you know, every now and then eventually they will be very weakened, and you can tell this visually. But like I said, using these slope roofs, they completely protect it. So looking at these walls here, we can see that they're completely intact. There was a storm and they haven't taken any damage, and neither has the roofs. So that is what the roofs are for. As long as your wooden structures have a roof on top of it, they'll be absolutely fine, no matter the weather that comes against them. Obviously they can still be hit and destroyed, but the weather won't damage them. So to repair your structures, you don't need anything. You don't even need resources. You simply just need to hit them with the hammer. Just make sure that you've clicked the hammer slot and then just whack them and they're all repaired. Next thing we're looking at here is workshop levels. So to level up your workshop, you'll gradually unlock these recipes as time goes on. But you will unlock many different things. Like here we've got the tanning rack and chopping block. And now all you need to do is place them. As you can see, we've got these little star particle dust beams shooting to the workbench, and that just means that it's connected, and it won't actually let you place it out of range of a workbench anyway, so you can't mess that up, but it just tells you which one it's connected to. Then they cost a decent chunk of resources. As the game goes on, they start to get more expensive, especially for different workstations. This is just the general workshop, so we just need a bit of wood and flint for the chopping block. As you can see, it shows us the beam, it shows us where we can place it, and as soon as you place that, you upgrade your workbench to the next level. You can't stack these things up, unfortunately, so if you have a wood chopping block, you can't place another one to get an extra point. It is just the one that counts for 1 star, and upgrades your level. So now what we can do is we can now upgrade our tools, our weapons, and we can also build new things. But as you can see, certain things have certain star levels before you're allowed to upgrade them. And it does all count. It does make a huge difference. So now if we head inside, we'll have to check out storage. So to make your storage nice and neat like this, we take up wall to wall, and we've got loads and loads of storage chests there in such a small space. And now how do we do that? It's quite simple. So firstly, you want to put them horizontally like we have here, and you just put one down like this, and then on top of it you just want to get a small piece of wood. You can barely even see it, and then that will allow you to place another one on top. You can even put it one more on top of that and go 3 high, and you can still access both of them. Now, as you can see in here, so you see we've got comfort 6. Now, comfort is basically how rested you are, and that means how quickly you're going to regenerate your health and stamina. Now, there are many ways to improve your comfort in your home. One of them is to just have a roof over your head, as you can see, shelter, and that will give you a rested. If you have shelter and fire, that usually gives you comfort 4. And if you have a rug, very cheap and easy to make, only costs a few deer hide, you put a rug down and you can unlock comfort level 5 and 6. And that all adds and improves how much your stamina and health regenerate and how safe you are in your own home. It also improves how long you'll be rested for, and the rested bonus just means when you leave your base and leave the comfort of your base, that's how long you'll have that buff to your health and stamina for. And as you can see, I've built these little safe chimneys here for both my fires. I've got my charcoal and meat fires, and then I've got my cauldron, and we've got our chimneys leading up to there. Now we only have one chimney on the roof. This one on the left connects with the one on the right, which is why the one on the right is doused, because we're currently in a storm, but the one on the left isn't. Last thing we want to have a look at here is just defences. So like I mentioned earlier, within the game you will face sieges. The enemies, it will come up with a little message on your screen. It might be the forest moves, or you can hear stomping, and the enemies will assault your workbenches. That's how they know where you are, and that's what the sieges will be based around. So they will come, it usually lasts the full duration of a night, and they will attack your base and try and destroy it, try and kill you as much as they can. So as we progress, as soon as we unlock Corewood, as soon as you take down your first pine tree, you'll unlock these wooden spikes. But before you do that, it's simple. Just build a wall around your base. We're triple layered here, so at our main gate we've got another gate behind that, and then we've got a second area with another gate behind that leading to our main base. So it would take them a long time for them to get through. And as you can see here, we've got all these palisades, these spikes here, protecting us against the enemy. And as you walk into them, they do a chunk of damage, but you need to make sure that once an enemy has walked into them, even if it's yourself by accident, that you repair them. So if there's ever been a siege, just make sure you go along the wall and repair your spikes, because they will take a lot of damage. But you need these around your base. They will protect you. They provide massive amounts of defense. Even if it's not a siege, the enemies will still try to kill you, and these will provide a lot of defense for you. So there we go, guys. We've covered loads of tips and tricks for the starter game. All these tips and tricks will just help you to build your first base and kind of get a good idea of how to start out in the world of Valheim. So one of the main things you want to do is obviously get your starter base up, make sure it's nice and safe, and get the first boss dealt with as quickly as possible, and that will get you a good head start and a good foot within the game. And then you can go out from there and you can experience and build up and do all sorts of other things. Obviously they're going to be adding loads of stuff in, and as you progress through the game you unlock loads of more recipes. So what you're seeing here isn't the limit of the game. In this playthrough I haven't currently unlocked everything, so there is so much more for me to unlock as well, and there will be so much more you can add into the game. Unfortunately there is no tunnelling, but like I said, you've got such a big library of things that you can do as well. If you guys got any suggestions, if you've got any tips yourself that I haven't mentioned in this video, make sure to leave them down in the comments below, and also make sure to go ahead and join us on Discord, where we can all have a chat together and you guys can offer your tips, post your own videos and photos in there of your own bases and playthroughs, and we can all have a good chat as a community, and it will be all good. But otherwise, guys, like I said, if you've got any suggestions, tips, comments, questions, anything like that, make sure to leave them down in the comments below, and make sure to go ahead and leave them in our Discord as well. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's helped. If it has, please let me know, and if it hasn't, again, please let me know. Make sure you subscribe as well if you haven't already. It just massively supports out the channel, and it keeps you up to date with all the content that's going to be coming out. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Please let me know if you have liked it, and I'll try and get more videos like this out. I'm going to be trying to update most of the ones I've got on this game already, so we're trying to be covering them in a little bit more detail, especially as now I've progressed through the game a lot more. I can answer your questions a lot better. But yeah, otherwise, guys, I will see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please let me know if I've missed anything. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.